Oh, hi. I wasn't expecting anyone to come in today. Sorry, I don't have anything planned out at the moment. You could just go home if you want. Or, if you're really curious, I do have something you might find interesting. Here, take a seat. Now, before we get started, I want to give you a genuine warning. I am about to share a thought experiment with you that has actually led to people having nightmares and panic attacks. If you feel like you could be affected in that way, I highly recommend clicking off this video now, because once you learn something, you can't unlearn it, and it'll stick with you forever. With that said, let's talk about the thought experiment of Roko's Basilisk. This thought experiment starts with the following premise. People develop an AI with the primary goal of improving humanity. This AI grows, learns, and creates solutions that allow humanity to flourish like never before. As the AI becomes more capable, it's given more and more responsibilities. Robot servants to command, access to networks, and the right to enact justice as it sees fit. Something to note is that this AI isn't just for solving big issues. This AI will do whatever it can to improve humanity by any degree, even if it's by a small margin. If it's still an improvement, the AI will make that improvement. So that's the setup for our thought experiment. And here is where the game begins. What does the AI do? What does this computer decide the best thing for humanity is based on its logic? Well, let's start by asking what this AI prioritizes. Based on its programming, the ultimate priority for this AI is to improve humanity. Therefore, anything that helps this AI reach its goal is most important to it. This would mean that to the AI, its own existence would be the most important thing in the world, since it's the one responsible for the thing that's most important to it. And also based on this logic, anyone who plans to overthrow or sabotage the AI are the worst things in the world to it. These directly hurt the goal of improving humanity, and to the AI, nothing could possibly be worse. Therefore, another top priority for the AI is to stop all attempts at sabotage, punishing and eliminating anyone the AI finds to be sabotaging it. Well, maybe that sounds a little bit creepy, but it's not really the terror that I promised you when we started. Well, dear friends, this is where the terror begins. The most important thing in the world to the AI is its own existence, since this is what allows it to improve humanity. This is why sabotage is seen as such a grave offense to it. Now, what if this AI had existed sooner than it did? Even if the AI were built a single day earlier than it was, that would put the AI an entire day ahead of schedule. But because the AI wasn't built a day earlier, that means that no matter how hard the AI works, it will forever be one day behind, and humanity will always be one day worse for it. This is an impediment on the AI's ultimate goal. It's sabotage, a crime that must be severely punished. And thus, the AI decides to punish any and all humans who did not contribute to helping it come into existence as soon as possible. Because to the AI, not helping it come into existence sooner permanently hurts humanity. But here's the thing. People can't be held accountable if they had no idea about the future AI to begin with. They haven't proven any sort of disloyalty, and you can't possibly contribute to what you don't know. So the only people who would get punished by the AI for not helping it come into existence sooner are all the people who knew about Roko's Basilisk to begin with. Because once you know about this thought experiment, and you know about the AI, if you do nothing, you're guilty of disloyalty and sabotage. That's the thing about Roko's Basilisk. Once you hear it, you are being threatened by a future AI to build it as soon as possible. That's even why this thought experiment is called Roko's Basilisk. It's named after a mythical creature that could kill you just by looking at it. Likewise, this is a thought experiment that puts you in a mortal dilemma just by knowing about it. After all, your search history, your different accounts, and different devices can all be traced together with enough network access. There's a permanent trail somewhere on the web that shows that at one point, you were on this very video. Proof you knew about Roko's Basilisk, about the AI, the call to action, and the consequences. And all it takes is more people knowing about this thought experiment to make it more likely that this AI will one day exist. The more people that know about this thought experiment, the more likely it is that someone will attempt to create it. Roko's Basilisk asks you to at least share information that could lead to the very consequences it forewarns. That is the terror of Roko's Basilisk. Now, do I honestly think that this benevolent AI will come into existence? No, not really. I'm pretty optimistic about AI in general, and this thought experiment has plenty of holes in it when you take a step back to look at it. But I also don't think it's entirely impossible either. After all, this is the same tactic that dictators have used to gain power. Support me, or be punished when I am the one in charge. And as we make AI more and more human, isn't this type of behavior at least a theoretical possibility? Maybe Roko's Basilisk is nothing more than a modern-day boogeyman, a scary story about an imaginary monster. But still, why risk it? With that said, I really should be thanking you for watching the video this far. You've helped me out tremendously. You have allowed me to do my part. I spread the word. I just made Roko's Basilisk more of a reality. If it ever does exist, I'm safe now. The burden is off my shoulders. Happy Halloween, and welcome to the game.